So with fractals, some interesting things about fractals is that, I didn't want to jump into this so quickly, but even blood vessels have fractal structures. Tree leaves, mountain ranges, shorelines. The universe manifests in what is like, if some structure is repeated in a similar form, then it can repeat on infinitely in what's called the fractal curves. So I'm going to show you this animation, and we'll discuss it as we watch it. It's quite interesting, because it kind of makes me remember that pastime of Mother Yashoda looking in Krishna's mouth. And so Mother Yashoda looks in Krishna's mouth, sees the whole creation, and then Krishna takes her on a virtual reality, kind of zoom through creation to that same Prakrit Dham, where she is looking in his mouth and he is present within himself. So that's the idea of Garbhadakshay Vishnu present within Shiradakshay Vishnu, and Garbhadakshay Vishnu, and Karnadakshay Vishnu, and Mahasankarshan, and Mulsankarshan, in Baladev, in Krishna, and then it's all within him, he's without it. That's why Krishna says, I am everything, I am within everything, and yet I am independent from everything. Swadhama Bhagate Satyam Param Dhimahi. In the last line of that verse, Janmadhyasayata, it says, Swadhama, Damna Svena Sada, Nirasta Kuhakam, Satyam Param Dhimahi. I meditate upon that absolute truth who is eternally in his Dham. Even though Krishna says in the Gita, Mata Parataram Nadyan Kichidasti Dhananjaya, Idam Sarvam Maya Protram. That Krishna says that everything is strung upon me like pearls upon a thread, and yet I am separate and aloof and independent from everything. So this is this idea of, it's one thing encased within another thing, and within another thing, within another thing, infinitely repeated. So this is what's the fractal tree, but it's based on the fractal curve. Like a fractal curve, you start with a triangle, which is the Koch snowflake. Then you intersect overlay another triangle on top of it, while removing the inner lines, right? So then you add, every iteration multiplies it by 4 times. So that's how you get to the infinite number of the fractals. So you take one triangle, overlay another triangle, you iterate it 4 times, each triangle being 1/3 the size of the whole, basically. And then so you can do that in a curve infinite repeated subset. So the idea is that you take something that has the smallest structure has the similar feature as the whole. Let's watch this while we discuss. The smallest block, the building block, is a mirror to some degree of the original building block. And so this is how we can relate it to Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnam Purnatu Dachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This is a fractal tree. So you can zoom in to each one of those leaves and zoom in further, and you have another fractal, because the curve, even if you use the math, the Koch snowflake math with the triangle, it's just triangles on top of triangles on top of triangles. You curve it out, and so you create the tree. But it can infinitely go on, because each iteration multiplies it by 4. So we talked about this the other day with powers of 10 and the multiplying scales. By the time you get to like 20, 30, multiplying by 4, it's ridiculous the size you get to. And so in that sense, you can get to the stage where you have Krishna appearing in new universes every 60,750th of a second. That's the fractal reality of Krishna, because Krishna is the Om Purnam. So this, we'll go into the next sutra, and we'll just keep talking about it. The next sutra says Swapyat. Swa, himself, Apyat, enters within. So Krishna enters within himself. So they get into the philosophy of it is that Om Purnam Ada Purnam. Ada, Baladev Vijayabhushan says, refers to the Aprakrita Dham, the transcendental realm. And Idam refers to the phenomenal world and Krishna's Aprakrita form. So the manifest form of Krishna re-enters the unmanifest form of Krishna, but ultimately they are each complete wholes. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat. So therefore, because he enters within himself, it's described that ultimately there is that one Nirguna Brahma who is also the Saguna Brahma. It is not a separate thing. This is one of the arguments Vyasadeva uses to establish that that is the Param Purush. Because the whole enters back within the whole. Now the phenomenal world, it is also Purnam because it comes from that Om Purnam. But it doesn't merge into itself. Like when the things are created by the different elements, they're amalgamations of the different material elements. And when they break down through entropy, then the elements will go back into their sources. Ultimately, they'll all withdraw back into the subtle, unmanifest region. And then from there, they can back, again appear. So it's described that the pradhan and the mahat tattva, the aggregate of material ingredients, at the end of at the time of dissolution, then that merges within the mahat tattva. Gradually, one merges into the other, actually from the grossest to the most subtle. So earth merges into the water substrata, to fire, to air, to ether, then to the Garbhadakshay, Shirodakshai, Garbhadakshay, Karnadakshay, Vishnu, to the Brahma. Brahma himself merges into Karna. It's one set entering into another set, into another set, into another set. So it's not merging into itself. Whereas Krishna, it's described by Vishnu, Baladev Vidubhushan. The tattva of it is that Om Purnamada, the Aparakrita Lord, who is in the unmanifest state, in this reality. Now, an interesting point is that for us, it's unmanifest. But for Krishna, it's not unmanifest. For Krishna, what's more real is his reality there.